Welcome, everybody. This is Starting Out Bright. I am Noreen Savage, and you are in for a treat because Deanna Ley is in the house. Deanna Ley, right? Or Ley?
Ley.
Okay, Deanna Ley is in the house. So welcome, and just so you know a little bit about me in case we haven't met before, I just first of all want to tell you I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me, and I came acquainted with it by a friend posting on Facebook. She said that she lost 57 pounds. If anybody was interested how she did that, to just give her a shout. So I got over to Messenger as fast as my fingers could get there. And my friend Lori proceeded to tell me about a book written by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book is described 4 bright lines that you don't cross. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed in measured portions. And when Lori told me that, I felt sunk. I thought there was absolutely no way I could do that. But I trusted her. We got together for lunch. She explained further. And I left feeling, well, with 2 ideas. One, get the book. And the other was to get into the private Facebook group called We Eat Bright with Lines, which is still going strong. There are many other Facebook groups now, including Starting Out Bright, which is a private group. We have No Sugar, No Flour, No Problem, Deanna's group. And so there are many groups available to people, but I got into the one and I just sat and watched and listened and was just totally inspired by what I was seeing. Transformations taking place before my very eyes. People losing weight, a lot of weight, not just 10 or 20 pounds like I was doing every couple months with my dieting and then gaining it back, but they were losing 50, 100, 150 pounds. And for the first time, I felt hope rise in me. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year doing Bright Line Eating, I would do what my friend Lori did. I would post on Facebook and help anybody I could. Well, the year came up, 2020, and I'm getting ready to post. And I'm a Christian. I felt God say, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could connect people. Here it was the time of Zooms. If I could just have people tell their story, maybe they would be able to help those who needed help and hope, just as I did. And so that's how the Zooms were born. But who would come? Well, people like Deanna, who are willing to share and help those who may need some help. And I will say that, I didn't lose all my weight yet. The first year I lost 56 pounds and I was coming from big numbers, 270, but I'm still at it. I'm now 3.5 years in. I've lost 95 pounds and I'm well on my way to being, I'm actually happy and free right now. I'm just maybe not a few pounds away from where I want to be, permanently, but I'm loving it. So here we are. So please help me welcome Deanna. Deanna, and it's good to see you. And you're not a stranger to Starting Out Bright. You and Chris were here, your husband, Chris, with you, both doing Bright Line Eating. It was last February, so almost a year. So we got to catch up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, but for those who weren't here a year ago, could you kind of bring us up to speed where you were, jumping into this kind of life that we call this no sugar, no flour living?
Wow. Yeah, sure. So in high school, I was 120 pounds, but I always had self-image issues from the time it goes back to probably when I was 7 years old. I always lacked self-confidence and never had a positive body image. And as I grew up and had my first daughter, gained 60 pounds with that. And surprisingly, she only weighed 8 of it. I found myself heavy for the first time. And it did not come off very easy. And I was a younger mom, 22, when I had her, but the weight crept up and up. And I had tried numerous things over the years to take it off, from Weight Watchers to Body for Life. And I tell people that I did a ton of different diet programs in my head. I only actually did a handful of them because every single time I heard about something new, I would research it to death and have myself talked out of it before I actually even tried it.
Mm.
I would go through all of these different diet programs. I'd read all the books. I'd look at all the research on it, and I'd be like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. Nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. And though there were only a handful that quote unquote worked for me, but I was always shooting for that number on the scale. That was my main goal, just get to that number that in my mind I wanted to be, and then I would be healthy again. Well, as the years went on, 30 years to be exact, I found myself at not only the heaviest I had ever been at 240 pounds, but also in a very dark space mentally. I didn't realize it at the time, but for almost 5 months coming out of the pandemic in 2021, I went through this state that I now know as languishing. It was just this utter nothingness, no emotions. The best way I can describe it is I felt meh. Like I had no excitement, no joy. I would try to do different things to have fun and to put it back in my life, but everything I felt was just like this numbness. I couldn't stand looking in the mirror. I used the words disgusted and loathing when it comes to the way that I would describe myself. And the fact that my husband still found me attractive at 240 pounds, like he would say the nicest, most amazing things to me. And I would, in my head, call him a liar. Wow. Like I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way that you are attracted to this. So my negative self-talk, like just all of the years and years compounding my lack of confidence and just my poor self-image, really came to a head when I realized I felt worse waking up than I did when I went to sleep. Everything about my body hurt. I was taking 2 famotidine pills a day for heartburn, massive amounts of ibuprofen. Now, for 5 years before famotidine, I was taking ranitidine, which they took off the market completely because it causes cancer. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I had read the books. I knew what being healthy was. I would oftentimes buy the low fat, no sugar types of processed foods. I was drinking 1 and 2 protein shakes a day, those meal replacement shakes, thinking that I was doing a great job. But the scale was still ruling my life. And when I got out of that languishing state because somebody gave it a name, I'm like, oh, makes perfect sense. The way it was described, I found myself open to possibilities because I had that answer to the mental state that I had been in for what felt like forever. And it wasn't depression. I could get out of bed. I could go about my day. I could do my work and show up in the world, but I was like a shell of myself. And so that was in August of 2021. We ended up going to a trivia night with some friends where I gorged myself on Cane's chicken and all the drinks and all the food. You know, you go to trivia and that's all the food's on the table. And then the person who asked us to the trivia night's like, hey, let's get a group photo. So we go up to the front of the room. It's this full body photo, the one that she showed of Chris and I side by side. As soon as I saw it was going to be a full body photo, I sucked everything in. I tried to hide behind Chris. If you remember the picture, he had his arm kind of awkwardly across his own belly. And I was just remembering that, like, I'm not going to post this picture. It's going to look horrible. Like, I already knew how I was going to look in it. And what I didn't realize is that that was like officially my rock bottom. I had already felt worse than I had ever felt in my life physically, just gotten out of a nasty mental state. And I saw that photo and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. And Noreen, you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
And we talked about this rock bottom place, and people are like, oh, rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. And that's a bunch of BS.
You can stay at rock bottom for a while.
You can make a house there. You can get all comfy, cozy at rock bottom because it's way too hard to figure out a way out and claw yourself on up. No, I was there and I was done. I was absolutely done. I had been there for quite a while and seeing that photo, and I didn't know what my answer was. I had no clue what my answer was, but I started searching. Went back to Weight Watchers for a smidge. I'm like, it's just not right. I keep cheating myself, save up all my points for all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And if I went over my points, who knew? I did the online one. So what accountability did I have? Yeah. For me before, had no belief in it whatsoever. And then I was scrolling TikTok one day, and I'm a recipe fiend. I love, love, love recipes. And so I just scrolled to and saw a gal making carrot fries. I had no clue what carrot fries were. So I stopped and I watched and I listened and I'm like, ooh, those look really good. Again, still having no clue what my answer was, just that I was open to something. And then in a little bitty blurb of a sentence, she said she had lost over 100 pounds doing bright line eating. And then she just went about her carrot fry making. And I'm like, wait, what did she do? So I clicked on her name and I went through a whole bunch of her posts and found out it was a book. I'm like, oh, okay, I can read a book. Ended up having to do yard work that next day. I downloaded it on Audible, listened to the entire book in a day and a half. And that was my answer. The first 5 chapters, the research for the first time in my health journey, I didn't feel like a crazy person.
I've said it many times that, and I didn't really realize that you had the 5 chapters too. I read those 5 chapters. I was sitting in my room, our room. I shut the book and said, I'm going to get thin, like out loud. I am going to get thin. It just like boom, 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 boom. It all made sense.
Mm-hmm. And it's stuff I had kind of heard bits and pieces of before, but put together. And here's the thing, I was ready. Yeah. I was open and I was ready, and perfect place, perfect time, whatever you want to call it. The skies opened up, the TikTok video showed itself to me and I was listening, and there we go. And so on September 26th, 2021, I started the Bright Line Eating official 14-day challenge. And it was I went all in. It was my answer. And there was no question in my mind that I could do it. I believed that was my answer, and I believed in my ability to do it. And my life has changed because of it. Completely.
And that brings me to something, we talked the other day, and you said there's like a 3-fold aspect of this whole thing. And you just said 2 of the things. You have to believe.
Yep. You have to believe that what you're doing, the plan or the program, you have to believe that what you're doing is your answer, not like, oh, this worked for 20,000 people, but it has to fit with your life and your lifestyle and your schedule. Like, it has to be your personal answer. And then you have to believe in your ability to do it. Like, no questions asked. I'm not saying let's get perfectionism out of our vocabulary, friends, because there's no such thing as perfect here on this earth. And so trying to be perfect inside of a program is you're fooling yourself. But you have to believe in your innate ability to do what is before you, knowing that your gifts, your strengths, your talents, your experiences, all of those things can play very well into that being your answer. And then having a why. I know you all post in your group a ton about your why being so monstrously, beautifully big that nothing placed before you is worth risking that why.
Yeah.
And if your why isn't big enough, then you're going to find yourself sometimes off track. And we'll get to that because we're all going to slip, trip, and fall. We are. There's no doubt about it that something's going to come along in life and it's going to make us make a choice that doesn't serve us. But always having that why top of mind is huge. So those three things, you believe that you believe that you believe that what you're doing is the answer. You believe in your ability to do it. Forget all the other things you've tried in the past. Forget what other people say. Oh, what makes this time any different? Forget all of that. And just know it's not about them. It's not their life. It's me. Do I believe I can do this? Yes, I do. Do I believe this is my answer? Yes, it is. Well, let's do it.
Yeah. Find a way and do it. And it's not if they're going to do it with me. And I know that you and Chris had that. I believe when I talked with you a year ago,
yeah,
I just went on this assumption like, well, we're doing this together and all that. But that wasn't really what you said. You were more like, I'm doing this, and go ahead from there.
Yeah. So I had been listening to the book Out Doing Yard Work. And then of course the second day came and I finished up the book and I was like, got on the website and I found the official Facebook group and doing all this research. I'm like, okay. So I signed up for the 14-day challenge and I went to him and I said, hey, I found this program called Bright Line Eating. I explained to him what it was. I said, this is what I'm doing. Now, you can either do it with me or not, but I'm doing it. And this is what it looks like. So I do pretty much 100% of the cooking in our house. I love, love, love to cook. And I said, so this is what it's going to look like. These are what our meals are going to look like. I'm not sure how everything's going to work out because I'm just learning all of this, but you're either with me doing it or, kind of do your own thing, but this is how it's going to work. And I said, if you choose to do this, not only do you need to read the book for yourself, but you're going to have to be in charge of your own program. You're going to have to decide that this is your answer and that you want to do this for you. Because Chris and I have a history of codependency that we had worked through several years before, but for the majority of we've now been married 27 years, for the majority of our 27 years of marriage, a very codependent relationship. But we had healed from that. And so I was very confident and happy to say, you're on your own. And still to this day, we do it together. We hold each other accountable. When one of us is like, hey, this sounds really good. The other person's like, yeah, I don't think that's such a good idea. And you're like, yeah, probably not. So we joke around now about the accountability aspect because we used to be each other's worst accountability partners. But he makes his breakfast. He's in charge of his time frame and his breakfast. He makes his own lunch. We'll do similar dinners sometimes if we're eating at the same time, which we usually do. I'll ask him, hey, do you want me to do this for you? Or do you want, this is what I'm having. Do you want some too? So we help each other out, but I am not responsible for him. I don't take charge of, I don't care if he gets on the scale that day or,
right. That is so important what you just said, I believe, because like in my case, I'm the only one doing it in my home. I haven't always been the only one, but so I can't like fall apart if the other person chooses not to do it. I'm doing it for me. I have to just eyes forward, keep going. because if my program's going to depend on somebody else doing their program, it's not going to work. So, I mean, hats off that you were able to just, talk about it right from the beginning, because I think it's a really important conversation to have, because a lot of people have a partner or a family member who they think needs to do it.
Right.
But that doesn't make it
right
that they want to do it.
If we're moms and we have daughters, especially who might not have the healthiest habits, we feel 100% responsible to make sure that, we have conversations with them about what we're doing and, oh, you should really try this. We should all over them. You should do this. You should do that. And I oftentimes just share like being a model, just showing up for yourself first is the best example you can set. Showing up for yourself first, taking care of you first, and then being the example, not by saying, look at me and how awesome I am and my no sugar, no flour journey, but being confident in what you're doing and why you're doing it. And just, again, setting the example. And because people are watching, friends.
Oh,
People
they
are watching. Now, some are watching and waiting for you to fail.
Well, and why wouldn't they? Because up till now, I have had nearly 30 years into it too. Up until now, until 3.5 years ago, I did fall off almost every single thing after a few months. I think the longest was maybe 1.5 years that I kept 50 pounds off. But every other time I had gotten excited, maybe even pulled a few in, like, let's have a diet bet, all these kinds of things. And then boom, it frittered away. So it's so important to be confident enough, those three things: believing what you're going to do is going to work, believing that you're actually capable to do it, and then, being able to, what was the third again? It's
like live your why, live out
like
your why.
have your why. Now, and this kind of brings being able to do it. You said a 14-day challenge. Well, not everybody is doing a 14-day challenge now, because it's different now with the Bright Line Eating community.
I don't think, right?
But you have a challenge in your group that is, I want to talk about that a little bit. You have a new group within the past year: no sugar, no flour, no problem. And I would add no drama, because I know, like, you don't have people picking on each other's recipes and all that kind of stuff. It's just a great group. But you offer an accountability group. I don't know everything that's in it, but I do know that this challenge it's not just about Bright Line Eating. It's no sugar, no flour. So people can bring their own program with them. What do you offer them? And I'm not going into detail, but what do you offer somebody who might sign up with your accountability group or challenge group or whatever you call it?
Yeah, so it's a 30-day challenge, and they get email activities every single day. It's called a challenge for a reason, because there are to-dos each and every day that will help you not only break old habit patterns, which is what we really are trying to do. And I had this aha probably about 2 months ago, where we talk often in Bright Line Eating about automaticity. Like, we'll get to that, where we want automaticity to kick in for the good habits that we are trying to establish. But what nobody has talked about, and just kind of hit me out of nowhere, is that we already have automaticity with all of our old habits that we're trying desperately to break. So, of course, it makes sense that if we keep doing the same things, we're going to get what we've always gotten, because that's our go-to. You sit down on the couch to watch Netflix, and then if your habit has always been to go to the freezer and get the creamy thing out of it, well, that's where your automaticity is. So to try and break that automaticity and to tell your brain, nope, not going to happen, no more, that's not what we're doing, that's not who we are, and to establish or forge new pathways, it's work. It takes a minute. And they say it can take anywhere from 21 to over 200 days to establish new habits. And so the 30-day challenge just kind of gets some of those new habits started. We talk a lot about meal prep and planning and setting ourselves up for success with all types of events and traveling and things like that. But then we really get into this. We get into like the whys behind some of our behaviors and then working really, really hard to figure out who we are inside of the health journey. Because similar to what I experienced for years and years, and raise your hand if you're with me, that all of the things that you've tried in the past have always kind of been number driven. If I can get to that size, if I can get to that weight. And I'm firmly convinced that if you focus on a number on the scale or a size of clothing, and that's all you focus on for your entire health journey, the weight will come back. There is no longevity to that. That is a diet through and through. But if you, from day one, not only work on establishing new habit patterns, but also working on what's here between the ears, getting healthy in your mind, body, and soul, all three of them, like it stops being a diet. And I don't even use the word lifestyle anymore. It becomes your life. It's your life. Like, this is my life. It's who I am now. I don't know myself outside of it. I don't want to know myself outside of it. I remember the Deanna that was 240 pounds. I'm never going to forget her. And I want to remember her because she got me to where I am today. She needed every one of those 240 pounds for what she went through. And every one of my pounds has a name. I remember where they came from.
And it is a life, it's your identity. It's part of your identity, truly, that you become a person who does this or chooses not to do that. I want to kind of touch on something because you're talking about this, pointing to your head for those listening by podcast, but you had your own personal you had your own personal moment about that too. You said, what was it, in April this year? Or April last year?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what happened with you personally.
Oh, it was a painful aha. You ever have those where you're just hit upside the head with the 2x4 and you wish you could not feel the pain of it, but on the other side of it is nothing but beauty and joy. Well, that's what happened to me, because for years and years and years, I had myself thoroughly convinced that if I lost the weight, again, number focused, if I lost the weight, then I would be a completely different person, that everything in my life would be different. I would be fixed. Everything would be great. It's like sunshine and roses. Just lose the weight, Deanna. Why can't you lose the weight? If you lose the weight, your life will be so different. Everything about you and your life will be so much better. And in April, I woke up. I was down probably 60 pounds, and I still had the same issues, still had the same problems, still felt the same way about myself, having a weird body dysmorphia thing where I'd look in the mirror and still see myself at 240 pounds. And I got really sad. I'm like, wait a minute. Everything's supposed to be different. I'm doing the work. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm following the plan and the program, but everything is still the same. And so I called a very, very good friend of mine, somebody who you've had on this podcast before, this Zoom before. Her name's Hannah Baumeister. She's a phenomenal, I'm blessed to call her not only my best friend, but she's also my coach. And I'm like, what's going on? It's supposed to be different. And not like I was ready to throw in the towel or not, because I'm such an inquisitive, curious person. I'm like, you got to walk me through this. I have to know why everything is still the same. And that's when she told me, she's like, Deanna, where's your focus been? And I said, well, I want to get to 150 pounds, the weight I was when I got married. Then I'll know that I'll be like, that will be, when I was the healthiest and the happiest time of my life. And she is like, how much work have you been doing on your mindset and your mental state? I'm like, well, I'm just following the program. I'm just eating what I'm supposed to eat and weighing what I'm supposed to weigh, and no sugar, no flour, like all the things. She's like, it's time to do the work. It's time to do the work, Deanna. I'm like, I'm doing the work. She's like, no. You have to learn who you are inside of this health journey, or you're just going to end up 240 pounds again.
So what did you do?
I got deep. I started putting everything that I had studied and learned through the years. I'm a big follower of Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Brendan Burchard, Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap. Like, I'm a huge fan of self-help. If you look in my Audible or even in my Kindle, I think I have like 2 fiction books in there. Most of them, because I'm a business owner, are all on self-help. So I had given, little did I know, everything I had been learning and soaking in had finally had a reason to start working. And so I sat down with some pen and some paper, and I started crafting out what I knew would be some activities that I could do on myself. And Chris and I went through a whole bunch of different things. We looked deep into what our triggers were, because when you just kind of shove stuff under the rug and ignore them and think that they're going to go away, they just find a different way to rear their head. And so
they'll find you, just like the chatter in your brain for everything else.
Yeah. So I did the work, and with Hannah's help, really realized that some of the things I had learned through the years had really started working in my own life. It's just I wasn't ready. It's all about being ready and being open and able, because I'm such a person of growth. Like, I never want to be stagnant. I always want to figure out how I can grow and change even inside of a challenge. And so when I realized that I had a lot of gifts, strengths, and talents to some of the things and processes I had put into place to be successful up until that point, started rediscovering who I was. I'm huge on I am statements, because the society and world, especially when you're trying to do this crazy no sugar, no flour thing, they want to tell you all the things about what you are. And they, society for years has told you how to show up in the world, but who are you? What makes you unique and beautiful and amazing? What are the things? Are you able to look into a mirror and see yourself? Because the world will not see you. If you're counting on the world to give you your self-worth, you're going to be waiting an awful long time. But if you can look in a mirror, and I oftentimes say, put 2 hands on a mirror and look yourself dead in the eye and say, I love you. I'm proud of you. You're doing fantastic. I get it. This is hard. This is super hard, but you are doing the best that you can. You're amazing. And you can use the you statements because you're looking yourself dead in the eyes, or you can say, I am. But you have to start showing up for you, because if you don't, nobody else will. I love Mel Robbins' quote, no one's coming to save you.
Right. And I also just yesterday, besides the 5-second rule that Mel Robbins talks about, changing your mind, like whether it's getting out of bed, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and, change your mind or get out of bed. She also has the high five, basically, to do that in the morning. And because the actual action of high-fiving somebody is a celebratory action.
Yeah.
You can't do it sad, really. I mean, when you think about it. And so if you do that to yourself in the mirror, it sets off in motion that you are going to accomplish something. I thought it was fascinating.
Science behind it. There's actual science behind high-fiving yourself in the mirror, or, affirmations are great, but Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. If you don't believe the things that you're saying about yourself, like if you look in a mirror and you're like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and you're like, yeah, no, you're not. Yeah, no. You have to believe
And that's going to take a bit sometimes. Yeah. Here's Linda says, sometimes I literally pat myself on the back.
Yeah. I say that a lot. Pat yourself on the back, give yourself a hug.
Exactly.
Show up for yourself first, friends, and then you can show up as your best self to everyone else.
And I just got to jump in, and Deb Babcock, she coined the word no flugitarian.
Yeah.
So we do have a name for this. So we're no flugitarians.
I love it so much.
I want to get into a little bit more about your group, but before that, let's talk about something you mentioned, and that's preparing for the unexpected and prepping. So I know that's the biggie. I know it's a biggie, and I know it's part of, I'm assuming, why you began your group, the no sugar, no flour, no problem, because you love to cook, you love recipes, and you love prepping.
Yes.
So how do we learn from you, Deanna? Teach us.
Well, just do it. No.
Where do we start?
I beat a dead horse so many times in my groups. I'm like, just trust me. Trust me when I tell you. I mean, you can hate to cook, you can hate to meal prep, you can hate it all day long. It doesn't care whether you hate it or not. But the point is that if you are at a place where you have a lot of food chatter or food anxiety throughout the day, and you are stopping yourself from the opportunity to quiet all of that in a big way, just because you don't want to take a couple hours out of your every couple days, once a week, to set yourself up for success, friends. I mean, I can tell you it has been not only life-changing, but it is the reason. I will stand here all day or day and say it is 100% the reason why automaticity set in with us pretty quickly, and we were able to see consistent success day after day after day. And I still do it. I can't imagine my life without it. We have not a set menu per se, but we do have specific foods that we buy at the grocery store. I have a shopping list that I go off of, because we do get the same foods week after week after week. I kid you not, friends. I have made my turkey pumpkin chili every week since I started.
And
I think I found
still delicious.
2 or 3 weeks in, and I have made it every single week. I take it everywhere with me. People know me for it.
Well, you were saying that even if you'll put it like in the little cup, right?
Yeah.
Put, what do you call it? Hydro flask?
Those double wall thermal cups, Yeti mugs that you usually put coffee or hot liquids in? Okay, well, I put my chili in there. So if we're going someplace, I've taken them to trivia nights, I've taken them to events, I've taken them to outdoor concerts, anytime where our meal plan is disrupted or wherever we're going won't have the food that makes the most sense for us to eat. Even if there's a question about what food's going to be there, I'm always expecting the unexpected. I will still bring that and a Ziploc container with salad in it. So I warm up the chili, put it in the Yeti, plug the little coffee hole with a paper towel, get my salad, and I have a little thing for the dressing, put the salad and the top on and the dressing, and bring it in a grocery bag with me wherever I'm going. We'll eat the salad first, and then we'll dump the chili out of the cup into the Ziploc bowl, and there you go. You're ready. And it's satiates you and it's easy. It's delicious. I'm
And you
still not
love it.
tired.
Yeah,
If you
I
would have
have
told me a
my
year and a
little,
half ago that I'd be eating the same thing week after week, I'd be like, you're crazy.
well,
But
I too, I will say that I found a baked muffin recipe early on. And I just started playing with it within the realm of what we're allowed and just made different variations and came to find out that this was something I could carry easily to work. Now
yeah,
I'm seeing a comment from Deb, not much of a prep person as far as bulk prep, but have a well-stocked fridge and pantry and can whip up anything like an episode of Chopped. It's so
yeah,
automatic. Now, I believe that, and I really wonder though, if you're like me, Deb, and anybody here, it was totally a game changer after I interviewed Shauna Murph because she had prepped 7 days her food, okay, at a time. Morning the same, lunch the same, dinner the same. And the reason was for neutrality of her food. She didn't want the highs and lows of, ooh, good meal, bad meal, whatever, okay? Now I couldn't do 7, just I'm more of a variety person, but I thought, well, I could prep 2 the same. That would be fine. I'll be good with that. I got into the pattern of prepping every breakfast and lunch. Now I still work 40 hours a week. It might be different if I was at home. I might not do that all the time because I do make like eggs and hash browns if I'm home. It's different than having these baked muffins. But for me to be able to just pack it
yeah.
and forget it, literally, I had not one bit of food chatter in my mind all the while I'm at work. Compare that to chatter, chatter, chatter of dieting. Like, is it time to eat? Oh, you're supposed to have
Yeah,
a meal now. What are you going to have? I mean, it was like all day long, food chatter all day long. And that was dieting chatter. How many
right.
points, how many carbs, how many
Yeah.
calories, how many minutes of exercise did I have? It was just crazy. Now I
This
like,
is the only thing that has quieted, and I call my food chatterer Steve. There's a funny story behind it. I won't go into it. If you want to know, message me and I'll tell you. But Steve's just annoying. He's just the incessant, like, what, and so I've gotten to a point where Steve's locked out. Like he's not very loud anymore, but on days where Steve was just gnawing at me, I just knew that something was off with my planning or my prep. And I think it's really important that you have to figure out what works best for you. Now, I'm a choice girl, so I love choices. Deb, it sounds like you and I have the same type of fridge where I have different items that are prepped and ready, and we can for sure take a tour of my fridge. And then I don't write my food down the night before. I did that for a couple weeks when I started the program, but I found myself feeling suffocated. And what I realized is I was trying to fit my personality into this box that wasn't a good fit for who I am. I have always been a make my own box, kind of fight myself out of it. I have to figure out what works for me. And whenever I put myself in somebody else's box, I just feel too hemmed in and I will rebel and it will not have a good end. So I started writing down my food after I ate it. And it was a fantastic journal because I'd make little notes about what I loved about it. And by the way, I love my food. I would go so far as to say I'm in love with some of the things that I eat. I'm always disappointed when I go to a restaurant, but I love my food. And so, friends,
what's
if you're
not to
finding,
love? It's great.
oh, if you're finding that you don't love the food that you're eating, there are so many options and choices out there. I'm happy to walk anybody through different things that you might want to, play around with. And I know Bright Line Eating super well, so I can help you through that. But I think that the more you can make your program your own, to fit your personality and your lifestyle. Like Noreen said, she packs her breakfast and lunch. It's ready and in the fridge. I guarantee tomorrow's is already there, right,
It's right
Noreen?
there. Yeah.
Whereas me, I have to be able to open up my refrigerator that day and say, what do you feel like eating, Deanna? And then I decide what to eat, still weigh and measure, but within minutes, because everything, even my can of green beans is opened in a Ziploc container, because when it's time to eat, I don't want the 30 seconds that it's going to take me to open up a can
Well,
and drain it.
let's do the 5-minute grand tour. Okay. Can we do that? How are we going to do it?
Come with me. This will be fun.
All right.
Let me make sure all my lights are working and everything's going to be backwards. So this will be interesting for me to see. Okay. So let me know if that works.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So I do hard beans in an instant pot every single week. So these are, I can't even pronounce the name of it. It starts with an M. They're a new bean that I found at Walmart, but they were dried beans and I made them in my Instapot. We might talk about this, not sure if we'll get to it, but I'm all about saving money these days. And it's just myself and Chris, but our grocery bill has increased. It's doubled easily since we started. So we find all sorts of ways to save money. Chris does peas every single day with his lunch. Those are ready and waiting for him. These are my green beans that are out of the can. I do tahini seasoned ground turkey. That's a special Mexican. It's a fantastic seasoning. So I use that and cumin. But we do more ground turkey and pork and chicken. Red meat I've found doesn't agree with me very well. This is cubed butternut squash. We shop at Aldi a lot. So I will actually cook it up in the microwave and then put it all ready because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about having to take something out of the freezer, microwave it, and then that just adds minutes and time. It's too easy for me to talk myself out of knowing that I have food at home ready and waiting and can be ready in 3 minutes. If I'm passing a drive-through, than saying like it's going to take me an hour to make what I need to make.
Okay, let's underline that twice because what you just said. If it's there, it's there. You have no reason to stop for anything at a drive-through.
Exactly, but if you don't prep and plan, and you had a hard day at work, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get anything out for dinner. And then in your head, you're already going like, oh my gosh, it's going to be an hour and a half before I eat. And guess what? Oh, there's McDonald's, there's Burger King.
Right.
Don't let the choice be made for you. Make the choice yourself by getting prepped and planned. So carrot fries, I'm in love with spaghetti squash. So I roast those, a couple of them a week. I make my own hummus, which so inexpensive and so easy. All you need is a food processor. I kid you not. You can have hummus that lasts a long time in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I do bone-in turkey breast in the Instant Pot, and then I shred it up. I make my own salsa because, again, saving money, and I like it a lot better. I'm allergic to garlic and onions, so there's a lot of things that I can't have that are store-bought. This is extra rice. Before I go on, I have to, you guys saw the recipe for this. These are my cheesy rice omelet loaves.
And yeah, I want to see that closer.
Those are the salsa ones. I'll take one out.
So you take one out. You take one out from the freezer?
Nope. So here's what I'm going to say. I leave them in the bag like this because Chris and I each, that's what we have every morning for breakfast. You have one of these and 6 ounces of fruit.
And you never get tired of it.
We go through them too quickly to put them in the freezer. But I do want to share, friends, that if you're making muffins or if you find yourself drawn to a particular food, just freeze it. It's really hard to eat, and I do like breakfast loaves. It's really hard to eat frozen breakfast loaves when you're in the mood for something extra. So just get it out, defrost it right when you're ready to eat it, and leave the other ones in the freezer. These don't call my name, so we leave them like that, and we'll be through those in a couple days. There's my chili.
There you go.
Same. That's not the same chili I've been making. I mean, it's the same chili I've been making, but it's not the same chili from 470 days ago.
I gotta get this tahine.
Oh yeah, I'll show you a picture of it. This is rotisserie seasoned chicken thighs. And I just discovered that you can buy bone-in chicken thighs, a lot less expensive than the boneless. So I cooked them in the Instant Pot, and then I just shredded them off the bone. Took an extra maybe 2 minutes to do so. And I'm gonna have that all week. This is Italian seasoned ground turkey, and that's my veggie party.
Oh yeah, talk about the veggie party. And we have the recipe in the slideshow. That's a new addition, right?
Yes. So veggie party, I say it's like a party in your mouth, because if you have a hard time eating all of your vegetables that, whether you're doing the 10-10 or the 14-6, if you're looking and you're tired of salad, not veggie party is just a mixture of amazing vegetables all in one party, all in one bowl. I cook it all together. This one has zucchini, roasted corn, different kinds of peppers, riced cauliflower. I added spinach to this one, a can of diced tomatoes, and then I just do a little bit of vegetable broth. I love lemon, so I'll do like lemon pepper, salt, pepper. Again, can't do garlic, but you can really decide how you want to do it, and it makes a ton. So you
You're
can
set for a few days.
And I use it as the foundation for a ton of stuff. So for example, I wasn't feeling very well on Monday, so I shredded up some turkey. I put 6 ounces of veggie party on the bottom, shredded up 4 ounces of turkey on top of it, added a couple ounces of vegetable broth and some water, put it in the microwave, stirred it up. I had almost like a turkey veggie soup, and it was so simple. Other times I'll put it on top of my spaghetti squash, add some marinara sauce to it. And so that's what I mean when I say I have things ready to go. Now, if you are a person who has to have the individual meals in the portioned out containers, you can still cook and prep the same way.
Right.
It just looks, your refrigerator will just look a little bit different, but there's more than one way to meal prep, indeed, friends. And
Yes.
the amount of chatter that it cuts down on, the ability, it frees up your brain so much so that it allows you to focus on all the things.
Yeah.
Other things.
One thing that I just started doing a couple months ago was cutting up a rotisserie chicken, weighing it in my 4-ounce servings, but little bags into a big freezer bag. I can pull them out either to just eat whole, or I can make a chicken salad. I mean, it's just, now I'm learning a little bit. Even after 3.5 years, I'm learning more from others.
Isn't it great
that there's, prepared things like, the baked goods, but there are just putting, like you have in the refrigerator, specific meal components that you can mix and match. That makes it so easy. I want to show this one comment, and I think it's from Linda. Been eating chili all week for dinners, which just adding black-eyed peas and ground beef. Literally opened a can of beans last night, drained, rinsed, put them in a container so it would slow down my next prep. And who would think, oh, I'm going to open the cans and put them in the Ziploc containers, but it just saved 5 minutes or 10 minutes of getting all the cans out. If you're having canned goods, I really like that you're being cost conscious too, because, when you're saying that your bill is twice as much as it used to be, that's not because you're doing bright line eating, it's because everybody's bills are twice as much as they used to be. So, people are even finding a different way to use something instead of eggs, We talked about this. What is it? Flax or
Yeah, I think
flaxseed?
delicate flax, ground flax, and you can now. I'm not sure how my salsa cheesy rice omelet loaves would taste with
Right.
flax, but and I don't know how the health factors differ. But I did add it up per our conversation, and one of my loaves, even at eggs being $4 a carton, is less than $1 a loaf.
Wow.
So for less money than going to McDonald's and filling your body with crap, you
Yeah.
can have a cheesy rice omelet loaf. Now I know there are people who sub out the rice because rice messes with their glycemic index. I think Karen does hold barley. I think some people have done quinoa before. So if you can't have rice, there are other alternatives, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm finding creative ways to save money. So I used to buy these country style boneless pork ribs that Aldi has, and you'd get like 7, 8 of them for $7, $8, and it would last us like maybe a meal and a half between the two of us. Now I buy a pork loin, like a big old honking pork loin for $11 and end up cooking it in the Instant Pot and shred it up. I mean, that thing, we can eat on that all week. Now, I'm not the type of person that can eat the same thing every day, but freeze half and keep half out.
Right.
And a tip I want to give everybody, if you find yourself often tricked and fooled by thinking that you have food prepped and ready, and then you go in there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not enough. I've done that before, where you go to have a particular protein and you open up the container and there's, like this much. Now, as things start to deplete out of the larger containers, I will transfer them into a smaller container. Yes, it's more dishes, but I transfer them into a smaller container so my brain realizes, oh, there's less of that now, which means I need to prep that soon. I might need to buy ingredients for that soon, and then I put it on my grocery list. And so there's ways that you can even prep your prep.
Right.
Make sure that you're set up for success. So there's no surprises. We're trying to cut down on surprises, because the more surprises that happen, the more freaked out you'll be and the more choices you'll make that won't serve you.
I have a few questions here in the chat. We'll do rapid fire. Do you
Sure.
roast the veggie party in the oven?
So these are all from frozen, like from bagged frozen vegetables. So I thaw them out in the microwave. I will roast the corn first because I love the taste of roasted corn. So I'll do that in a skillet with just a smidge of grapeseed oil. And then I'll add my peppers. I do colored peppers and green peppers. And then I forgot the peas and rice cauliflower on top of that, mix it up. Now it can get a little dry, so that's when I put my canned tomatoes in there. And then I don't like mushy zucchini, so I'll dice up my zucchini as all that's kind of meshing together, add a little bit of vegetable broth. And be careful, friends, because vegetable broths are not the same. There are some with added sugars in them.
Right.
So read your labels carefully. But then I'll put the zucchini in and I'll just let it cook down. You just let it cook down, and you can do whatever vegetables you want. I'm not a mushroom person. I know people put mushrooms. I know, like I said, I add spinach to it, fresh spinach. There are vegetables that I roast in the oven, but most of them are squashes. I don't, and I just got an air fryer, and very grateful for that, but just got an air fryer and I'm now doing my carrot fries in that. I'm discovering all the fun things you can do with an air fryer now.
I want to just add too, one way to save money is to use the food you have too. So if you're not wasting food, if you are actually making it and using it, that is a way of saving money, I believe, instead of, oh, it's been sitting in the fridge for 2-3 weeks, I got to throw this out. So if you're rotating your food, that's going to help. I want to just point out, Deb says the flax egg is 1 tablespoon of flax meal plus 3 tablespoons water. So there's that little recipe. People want your rotisserie chicken seasoning. They love that. And I'm going to ask you to put some of this in the Starting Out Bright group, when we
course.
post this interview.
Sure.
And I'll have some things up on the slideshow too. But it's time to wrap it up. And I know that you've gotten a lot of benefit from this life. What would you say? What comes to mind? Some of your biggest non-scale victories? Non-scale, which you were so determined by the scale before.
I know, right? Okay, so I'll say the most fun one, and I have said this on a different interview. My most fun one is realizing that hotel towels fit me now.
Yeah.
Shocking. I will never forget that all the times that I looked at the hotel room towels and realized that if I put it around me, there would be this gaping, like my husband liked it, but nobody else did. That's for sure. Because it didn't cover me. It was almost like it was like a hand towel. But the first time I went to a hotel and the towel wrapped over me and closed, shocking.
That's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it really was. So that is one of the most fun ones. Of course, sitting in an airplane, being in the middle seat and not feeling like you were taking up room on the other two seats. Just life. We have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and the things I'm able to do now and the way I'm able to show up for her is night and day different. Night and day.
Yeah.
I know people say this a lot, I'm never going back. I'm never going back, but she is my why. Because I envisioned her life without me in it. And I'm not willing to this day to risk any future memory that she makes without me being there by her side. And I was quickly on a path of not having me in her life. And I won't do that. And I want to live. I want to experience life to the fullest. I'm not saying I need to live till I'm 90, but I want every single day to be a beautiful one. So I am a peace seeker. I chase after it. I look for joy constantly. I find this life that I'm leading fun. I love challenges because it's a new way for me to learn something about myself. I think a lot of times we look at all the things we don't get to have, we aren't able to or capable of, or all the lack mentality and the things we're missing out on. And friends, what I'm here to tell you tonight is that you're not missing out on anything. You're gifting yourself everything.
Yeah.
Everything. These choices that you're making one by one will get you to exactly where you want to be. They'll get you to who you want to be. And you owe it to yourself. This one life that you have, you owe it to yourself to show up for yourself first and to make choices that serve you, because people love you. They want you here. I don't care what food is put in front of you. Nothing is worth your life.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't let anything steal your joy. It's not worth it.
So profound. Wow. I just love you, Deanna. Just love you. And I want to tell everybody to go and take your challenge. Go to No Sugar, No Flour, No Problem. That is the Facebook group. You'll find all of these great recipes there. You'll find Deanna there. You'll find her challenge there. I don't know how often you're running it, but I know they're like 30 days, as you mentioned. And I can only imagine the exercises that you run through. It's not just doing the outer work of food prep and that, but the inner work that you've been talking about. So important to be able to accomplish all of this for our why. And I believe the why even transitions a little bit as we help ourselves, we do want to have a handout to help others, which you are doing every single day.
Oh, friend, you're the biggest ripple effect there is. The things that you do, you and Deb, how you show up in your group is just so freaking inspiring to watch. I am blessed. If I get nothing else out of this health journey, just getting to know you and the people that I have been able to meet through this, like my life has changed because
Mine too.
I'm constantly inspired by people around me. Constantly.
I'm seeing in the chat here people mentioning your challenge, and it has changed their lives. It has changed what they're doing to accomplish this part of their life. So, do you have any last words for us? You've said so many wonderful things. I just want to go and re-listen to this whole thing, that everything you said.
Just really quickly about the slips, trips, and falls, friends. The choices that you make that might, on the other side of them, lie guilt, shame, regret, and remorse. They don't define you. They are not you. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. You have so many gifts and strengths and talents, like beyond measure. Just because you make a choice that doesn't serve you doesn't mean you have to handcuff yourself to it for the rest of your life. What's done is done. It is what it is. Dust yourself off. Take one step at a time. Figure out why you fell in the first place, because if we keep falling over the same thing time and time again, we're going to get pretty banged up and bruised. But if we can learn what makes us slip, trip, and fall, and then look for ways to never do that again, I guarantee you're going to get to where you need to go. For sure going to get to where you need to go and who you want to be. It's just around the corner. It is the next right choice. It's just around the corner. So if you make a choice that doesn't serve you, let it go. Move on. Don't beat yourself up. It's not worth it. Don't start back at the beginning. Like, just keep going.
Right.
Just keep going, friends. You're worth it. You are worth it. And if you don't believe me, then put 2 hands on the mirror and look yourself in the eyes and say, I am worth it.
Let's all do that. I am worth it. I am worth it. We got the whole gang saying it.
I know. It's chanted if we need to. I mean,
Deanna,
you got to believe it, though. You got to believe it. And I always say, if you don't believe it about yourself, I will believe it enough for you until you do.
Oh, go to No Sugar, No Flour, No Problem and check out Deanna and her group. You are going to love it. Deanna, thank you so much for coming back to Starting Out Bright. I just love you. I appreciate your story and for your sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. And I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Okay,
So,
I'm ready.
Deanna, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
I'm so ready. Bring it on.
All right. All right. You've mentioned a lot of appliances here. What are your go-tos that you cannot live without?
Okay, so I'm taking you back on a tour. My food processor, which my husband bought me for a Christmas present, and everybody just went, what? It was 20 years ago that he bought it for me, and I used it once, but now I use it to make my salsa and my hummus. I make mashed butternut squash in it. It's fantastic. So I did ask for it that Christmas. He didn't just buy me a food processor because he didn't know what else to make. My new baby is this beautiful little air fryer, which if anybody has any air fryer recipes, please reach out to me. Happy about that. By the way, these are our dog biscuits. Don't get the wrong idea, friends. Who loves their scale? I do. I love my scale. And then I could not live without these. These are my silicone mini loaf pans. I have way too many of them because I do cook batches. But this is what I use for my breakfast loaves and my cheesy rice omelet loaves, and I just can't do without them. And then my Cutco knife.
Mm.
You have to have a good knife. If you're going to cut carrot fries, friends, a lot of people don't make carrot fries because they find it really tedious. I turn on dance music, and my carrot fries and I have a dance party when I'm cutting them up, and I just make it fun. You got to make stuff fun, friends. There's a lot. This is a lot. This is not an easy thing to do. So wherever you can find joy and levity in it, like add that to your life. Put on some music when you're food prepping and dance it out.
That's
Gotta
a lot of good stuff you showed us. Okay. I've got a question. You do a lot of your food prep, for the week, for the month. You showed us the refrigerator.
Mhm.
What are the kinds of things that you're storing in the freezer?
Well, you should have told me that before I sat down, Noreen. Now, I will tell you that we have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and I'm a firm believer, friends, that your environment has to be a place of peace for you. So one of the very first things we talk about is out of sight, out of mind. You have to create a safe space for you to operate day in and day out. So if you live with other people, that means putting their foods on different shelves, not at your eye level, keeping them off the counter, because we only have a certain amount of willpower. And the more that our brains see something that is not our food, it's going to sit there and say like, no, 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 no. Yes. At some point you will find yourself depleted and exhausted, and you will eat it. And so why not get it out of sight, out of mind? So I will show you the things that I have in here. I don't think you can see any of Aria's food, so that works out well. More vegetables than any one person needs in their life. I do the Aldi hash brown patties for our grain, but we eat those pretty sparingly because they're not like tippity top of the list as far as my grain goes. I'd rather have something healthier like oatmeal. These are more of the beans, and I just froze those. Aldi has a new similar, except a lot less expensive than Ezekiel bread, but I haven't opened it yet. I just don't feel the need to have a piece, but if I do, it's there. And then if you don't have Aldi, I'm sure they have these at Walmart or something, but this is my absolute favorite. The cherry berry blend. It has sweet cherries, tart cherries, blueberries, and strawberries. And I don't know if anybody loves cherries as much as I do, but they're expensive. And so you can get this whole thing for like $8, and it lasts a really, really long time. So that's my freezer.
What do you use your cherry berry in?
Sometimes I'm just in the mood for frozen berries, so I'll use that, just frozen 6 ounces. It makes me eat my food slower and be more mindful when I'm chewing up frozen berries. But I also use them in my breakfast loaves. I will thaw them out for that, obviously. I love oatmeal, so mix it up in there, and yeah.
So my third and final question, this is for all the money, all the marbles.
Ooh.
Your group has exploded in popularity. I think you have over 10,000 people in less than a year. Okay. What do you see in the future for this group? I mean, do you see a recipe book coming? I mean, what do you see? How can we add to what's going on?
So every recipe that I've created is found in that group. They're Facebook. God love Facebook. Now Facebook stole my profile for 29 hours a couple months ago. I was invisible. Chris was married to nobody, poor guy. Everything was gone. And it freaked me out because we own a small business and everything we do is on Facebook. So it really, really got my mind thinking, like, what happens next if it goes away? So I've started documenting all of my recipes. I'm not so sure about a cookbook because I'm one of those people that likes to pick and choose the recipes that I want. But I do have a website. It's basically NSNFNP. So no sugar, no flour, no problem.com. And slowly but surely, I'm putting digital downloads of my recipes on my website so people can print out the ones that they want and create their own cookbook from that. It's not easy to take recipes that you've just put on Facebook and transition them so everybody like understands step by step by step. Because I'm not a measurer when it comes to seasonings. I'm just like, add all of the things. And people are like, oh, but I want to know how much. I'm like, just to taste. And then people are like, but I don't taste. I'm like,
I'm that person.
So it takes a minute. It's taken me a minute. I do have a handful on there. I do have my fresh salsa, my lemon dill hummus. My shopping list is free. You can download that. But when I get them all on there, there'll just be $1 to download. So just super simple. And that way you can print off the ones that you want, and it'll be that much easier for people to pick and choose. A book, recipe book? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's great. I think that we'll go there too. The nsnfnp.com.
There you go. I love that. Measure with your heart, Noreen.
Yes.
You can do it.
Oh, it'd be all over the place. I have a big heart.
How much cumin do you put in the turkey pumpkin chili? This much, Noreen. This much.
Oh, Deanna, you're too fun. And it's just been so great to get to know you. We'll meet on the BLE tour. So keep that in mind.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do. Let's give Noreen a round of applause, friends.
Thanks, everybody.
I say this every time. I don't think people realize the work, the time, energy, effort, and money that goes into putting these out every single week. And you're blessing so many people.
I get it all back. It's a blessing to me. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for sharing your story, and thanks for all of your great hints, information, and thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday. It's been a blast. So good night, everybody. Stay bright.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.